Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Then We Eat. On this episode, we'll be making personal pan copycat Pizza Hut pizzas. The first thing we're going to do is make the dough because it's got to rise for 4 hours. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1.5 cups of warm water to our mixer. Now our water has been heated to 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And to our water we're going to add 3/4 cup of traditional yeast. You can use dry active yeast. If you're using active yeast, you don't have to do this next step of proofing it for 5 minutes. If you're using traditional yeast, you will have to do this step. Mine's traditional yeast, so we're going to do the proofing. I'm going to give this a mix and then I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes so it gets nice and bubbly. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes. It's time to add the flour. Now, as you can see in our mixer, the yeast isn't really bubbly, but it is combined. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our flour. In my bowl, I have 14 ounces of all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour if you have it. It calls for bread flour. I don't have it, so I'm just using all-purpose. Also to this, I have added 2 teaspoons of salt. I've put it through the sieve to put a little bit of air in it, but also to mix the salt in. Then I put it back in the bowl and gave it another quick mix. So into the mixer this goes, and then we'll give it a beat. You want to mix it just until it's combined, no further. And I'm going to start off slow so I don't have flour all over the kitchen. Our next step is to transfer the dough to a mixed greased bowl. I've already gone ahead and put some cooking oil in a bowl, so let's get our dough transferred. So into the greased bowl it goes. Okay, as you can see, I've got my dough in the bowl. I've spread it out as much as I could. You can see that there is oil in here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it in plastic. I'm not going to put the plastic on too tightly. I want to be able to make sure that it still has room to breathe. So it is on there loosely. The next thing that you want to do is you want to turn your oven on for 1 minute, and only 1 minute. You want to get the oven started to get warm. You don't want it too hot. I already have my oven on. It's been on for about 30 seconds, so wait about another 30 seconds. We'll turn it off and we'll be ready to put it in the oven. Okay, my oven's been on for a minute. It's time to put the dough in the oven. Now this is going to go in the oven for 4 hours. And after 2 hours, I'm going to take it out of the oven. I'm going to turn the oven back on for another minute, and I'm going to put the dough back in the oven for another 2 hours. When we're done, the dough should have doubled in size and be light and bubbly. We'll see you in 4 hours when our dough is doubled. And hi, welcome back. It's been 4 hours. Our dough is risen. It's nice and bubbly. It's time to move on to the next step. Next step is to add 2 tablespoons of oil to our frying pan. You want to use canola oil or vegetable oil. You don't want to use extra virgin olive oil because we need to put the pan in a very hot oven, and you need an oil that will stand up to a high temperature. Extra virgin olive oil will just smoke your house out. Let's mix it around. Make sure you get up the edges of your pan so your dough doesn't stick. This recipe makes 2 pan pizzas, and I'm only going to make 1 for today. So I'm going to take the dough, divide it in half, and I'm going to freeze the other half for a later use. I'm going to dip my spatula in the oil. I'm also going to dip my fingers in the oil to make sure that the dough doesn't stick to my hands when I dump it into the frying pan. Okay, so now I'm going to divide it in half. Your dough is going to look very sticky. It's supposed to. Now with my oily fingers, I'm just going to give it a small little knead. So basically, I'm just going to fold it up into the center, turn it, fold it up into the center, turn it, fold it up into the center. You're trying to make a small little ball out of this, and by kneading it, you're just going to get a little bit more air into it. And now you just want to spread it out to the edges of the pan the best that you can. Okay, I have my dough stretched out in the pan as much as I can. And now it's time for our second rise. I'm going to turn the oven on for a minute to heat it up, and then I'm going to put the pan in the oven with some plastic wrap loosely over the top and let it go for a second rise. When it comes out of the oven, the dough should be touching the sides and it should be risen and it should be nice and bubbly. I'm just going to wash my hands, we'll turn the oven on and we'll get it ready for the oven. When you put the plastic wrap on, make sure that it doesn't touch the dough or it will stick and you'll never get the plastic wrap off. You don't want it super tight either because you do want the air to get into the dough. So we'll put that in the oven and we'll be back when it's risen. Okay, our dough is rising in the oven. One of the things I forgot to mention is I put half the dough in the freezer. When you're ready to use it, just take it out of the freezer, put it in the fridge overnight, let it thaw. And when you're ready to use it, just put it in the pan with some oil, give it a massage, and let it proof in the oven for the hour and a half. In the meantime, let's start cooking some of the toppings that we're putting on our pizza. Today we're going to be making a Meatlovers pizza, so let's get frying up all the meat for it. So in our frying pan, we're going to add 1 sausage patty, which is homemade sausage patty. If you haven't seen the video, check out the link here or here. So in the pan it goes. To that, we've got some homemade bacon. Again, there's a video for it. You can check it out. And we've got some ham. We'll give that a fry up, cook everything all together. As we're cooking our sausage, I'll give it a mix up so that it's all nice and broken up into small pieces. One of the other ingredients that goes into Pizza Hut pizza is ground beef. I didn't have any right now, so I'm not going to add it. So it's not going to be quite Copycat Pizza Hut, it's going to be my version of Copycat Pizza Hut. And we'll just let that fry until everything is nicely cooked. Okay, our meat is cooked. I'm going to take it off the burner. I'm going to drain a little bit of the oil that's in the bottom of the pan off. We're just waiting for the crust to come out of the oven and then we can start assembling the pizza. So our dough is risen, it's come out of the oven. We're ready to start assembling the pizza. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some sauce to the pizza, about 3/4 of a cup. I'm just going to eyeball it just to make sure that the crust is covered. When you're putting the stuff on the pizza, you want to be careful not to push down too much. You don't want to weight the pizza down. Okay, that's what I'm going to do for the sauce. The next thing I'm going to do is add a little tiny bit of mozzarella cheese. I'm going to add more on the top. And again, you don't want to weight the pizza down. Just sprinkle it lightly over the top. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the pepperoni. You don't want to have the whole pizza covered with pepperoni because you do have other meat. And again, remember, you don't want to weight the pizza down. The next thing we're going to do is add our meat topping. I'm going to spoon it on so I'm not dumping a huge amount right in the middle. One of the things I wanted to tell you while I'm doing this is I did preheat my oven to 550 degrees, and after it came up to temperature I left it for an additional 20 minutes to make sure it was nice and hot. You want your oven as hot as you can get it so that your pizza cooks and the bottom browns. And now I'm going to add a little bit more mozzarella cheese to the top. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top. My Parmesan cheese has some herbs in it, just to give it a little bit extra flavor. This is what I had, so this is what I'm going to use. You don't want tons of Parmesan. That's good. Now we're going to bake it in the oven for 9 to 12 minutes, checking to make sure that the bottom is cooking nicely and the top is super melty. So into the oven it goes, and when it comes out of the oven, we're going to leave it for 5 or 10 minutes and we'll be back when we're ready to cut it. Okay, so our pizza's out of the oven. It's been cooling for a few minutes. It's time to cut it and taste it. Okay, it's ready to try it. It's taken me all day to make this pizza, so I'm super excited to try it. Look at that. It looks fabulous. And it's hot, so I'm gonna have to be careful. That is super good. It's pretty close to Pizza Hut pizza. I'm pretty impressed. I love all the meats on here, the bacon, the ham, the sausage, the pepperoni. It's fantastic. You gotta try making this. The crust is perfect. You can see it could have been a little browner on the bottom, but it's not too bad. So thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you liked the video, share it with all your friends, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Did you like the video? Or better yet, what's your favorite kind of pizza? And don't forget, first we cook, then we eat.